Welcome to another episode of Turkish VC, a podcast where we talk about the Turkish VC and startup ecosystem. I'm excited today to have Ali Karabey as the guest. Ali is a founder of 212, one of, if not the first Turkish VC. So I think that's going to be really exciting. I think what's exciting about this podcast, I think, is that it's an emerging ecosystem and we're seeing it develop kind of in real time. So it's great to be talking to somebody who's been there from the early days. And welcome to the show, Ali.
Thank you for having me.
So just a quick also thank you to Startgate, the game-focused accelerator. We're here in their beautiful offices, so we thank them for making use of their great podcast studio here. So we had a chance to talk a little bit before, but I'm curious to ask you first just about your career. How did you get into VC? What brought you here today into creating 212?
It was by mistake. I was a banker in my previous life. I used to, live in the US, then 3 years in London. So after 14 years, I came back to Turkey in 2008, beginning of 2009, and I started consulting different types of clients, including government, some family offices. And then, thanks to one of my best friends, I was introduced to the startup ecosystem, and I fell in love with it.
In the US?
In Turkey, in Istanbul.
Turkey?
Yeah, this is 2009, and I started seeing more and more technology startups. Obviously, this is early days. There's no VC funding. There's no angel funding.
So you had come back to Turkey, and you were still in banking at that time?
No, I was no longer in banking. I was consulting.
Okay.
I was doing some advisory to different clients.
Okay.
And he said, he invited me to one of the conferences back in the day, and that's the first time I saw the Turkish startup ecosystem. And then the same friend invited me to the first meeting of the first angel network of Turkey, Galata Business Angels, which was also amazing. And that day, one guy sat next to me. He had just arrived from New York. His name was Newman. He used to work at Goldman Sachs, head of technology. So he was managing in Asia-Pacific technology teams. And then he came back to New York, also managing technology teams. So he was working for banks, but he wasn't a banker. He was a techie. And we started talking, and one thing led to another. We said it started with a garage project. We said let's start an incubator, an accelerator for startups. Then we said, you know what, Turkey doesn't have a VC yet, and that's how 212 started.
So you started first thinking of starting a company? Was how you first started talking?
Yes, we said we should do something with entrepreneurs, maybe a co-working space, an accelerator of some sort, maybe some seed funding. But then we noticed, we became angels. And then we noticed that there was no VC ticket in Turkey. This is 2010. And we said, why don't we set up a VC? And this was June 2010. Let's call it 212. Why? Because we both lived and worked in New York, but were born in Istanbul. And the phone code for both New York and Istanbul is 212. So we called it 212. And here we are today. We launched our first fund in 2012 with $30 million. Our second fund in 2018, and now we are raising our third fund.
So you're on fund 2 and raising fund 3.
Yes.
So what were the numbers again? The first one was 30?
The first one was $30 million. The second one was 50 million euros, and the current one wants to reach 70 million euros again.
70 million euros. And they'll all three be running in parallel, so there'll be some overlap as well, right?
The second fund finished its investment period, so now we are fully dedicated to the third fund. Obviously, we have a portfolio that we are managing.
You're still managing, but fund 1 and 2 are fully deployed.
Yes, they are fully deployed.
Okay, that's fun. It's interesting to hear the inception story, and I mean the timing was fortuitous there too, because there was. Is it the EIF that had the Istanbul Venture Capital Initiative?
That's correct.
Was around that time.
Yes.
So the timing worked out.
It did, yes. VCIF, venture capital was at its beginning, and EIF just had its first fund of fund. You're right. I totally forgot about that actually. So it was early days for the Turkish VC. PE is already established in Turkey back in the day.
Right.
So the big boys were already in this field, but there was no venture capital fund yet.
Yeah, I mean, is that your sense as well that really kind of helped kick off? Were they instrumental, the EIF, and kind of there are a couple of funds that started around that time?
We started in 2011. We didn't receive any investment from EIF.
Oh, really? Okay.
Unfortunately, no. We were first-time fund managers, and so we weren't able to get EIF funding. We raised mainly and only from family offices. Actually, we have no DFIs in our first fund. With our second fund, EIF became a corner LP. But back in 2011, it was a tough space to be in. Yes.
Right. So you came to Turkey 2009, 2012 is the first fund. So there's
Yes.
in between, at some point, you decided to start raising. So that's what it was, like a 1 or 2 year period where you're
1.5 years, 18 months it took us. Yes, from June 2010 until December 2011. Yes.
How was that process? They always say it's more difficult than you expect.
It is very difficult. I think personally the first one is the easier one. I know that's contradictory, but especially when you're in this region, when because it's a big bet. You're the first one. Obviously, you're putting multiple bets. If it happens, it's great. But if it doesn't happen, you can just blame everyone else. I think what becomes harder is the second one, right? Because you raise your first fund, you started investing, and you're fully deployed, and then you go and start raising your second one. Then you start answering certain questions that you didn't have to in the first one, right? And
was did you have a track record that had started to play out already when you were raising?
We did because we already had.
When you're starting to raise your second fund, your first investments haven't exited yet. So
exactly,
you have maybe some markups to show on paper, but
we had markups. EasyCo was already on its way to an exit. Insider was already doing well. I know Sequoia had already invested in them.
Oh wow!
So I think we had significant, traction that we could show. But obviously, it's one thing that you can demonstrate how your portfolio did in the previous fund, but it's a different thing when you're a fund manager based in Istanbul, right? These are the things you don't normally think about, because obviously when you're raising a fund, the opportunity is, what we're looking at is Istanbul and the nearby region, but it also comes with its risks and everything, right? So when you go to a DFI or to a potential investor outside of Turkey, you need to tell them about Turkey and the region. They ask you about the risks and what they hear about in the media. And so you need to actually, half of the conversation is about Turkey, Middle East, dollar, euro, TL depreciation.
And for Fund 1, you mentioned family offices, primarily your LPs. Were they local, Turkish?
Some local, some international as well, yes.
Okay. But they were interested in the Turkey story?
They were interested, and we were lucky. For most of them, especially local ones, we were the first VC that they invested in.
Wow.
So that's a huge responsibility as well that we take very seriously. And it took us 18 months to raise the first fund. But the second fund took us 2.5 years. So as opposed to the first one, it was a longer process.
Yeah. Cool. And now you're in that process again with Fund 3. Again, now you have a chance maybe a little bit more to go towards institutional investors.
Exactly. We mainly go to institutionals now, the bigger pockets. But again, it's never as easy as, raising a fund, investing in Europe or in an American setting, right? It's still early days. Mm-hmm. It's nothing close to where we were in 2010, but it also has its challenges.
And the fund size has gotten larger, but it's still not huge. You hear of funds in Europe that are like hundreds of millions of euros.
Yes.
And they call themselves small funds.
We are micro funds, I guess, compared to them. Our goal is to reach, 70 to 90 million. I'm very comfortable with anything around 50. But again, I think maybe that's the banking mentality that I still can get rid of. We want to make sure that each fund is very profitable. And when I look at the exits in the region, when I look at my first fund with 30 million, I know how I was able to deliver that profit. So that's why I'm very comfortable with the 50 million second fund, and I want the third fund to be very profitable as well. So we are going step by step. Right. I'm not rushing.
Yeah, it totally makes sense that the size of your fund is tied into your approach to investing, your thesis, your strategy. That's a great segue. Can you tell me a little bit about your approach to investing? Kind of what's your thesis? Or is there certain sectors you're looking at, or is it team that matters? You talked a little bit about region. Tell us a little bit about your.
So our focus is Turkey and the nearby region. We also look at the diaspora. So we look at the people who left this region for whatever reason and went to the mainly Western European or American cities. So that's one thing. So the local talent is important to us. The second thing is technology. We mainly look at B2B enterprise software. We believe that we are stronger there. We do look at B2C opportunities, opportunistically. But again, our bread and butter is B2B enterprise software. We try to be the first institutional investor of any given startup. Our average ticket is about $1.5 to $2 million. So we look at early traction. The client conversations are very important to us during the DD. We also look at the price, and the valuation arbitration. We believe the startups in this region are usually discounted unfairly. So we try to be the first ones who invest in them, who take them beyond the region. So globalization is a must-have. So we don't look at regional powerhouses who just want to dominate the existing country or this region only. We are looking for people who are going after global problems and who have the skill set to go there. And they also have the skill set to know what they're lacking to be in an American or in a Western European setting. So we try to be the first institutional investors for those companies. Obviously, team is the most important thing.
So first institutional investor. So fairly early stage. Then,
yes.
Would you call it seed, I guess? Or
I don't call it anything anymore because what we call seed versus Series A and Series B means something very different in the rest of the world. I try to be the first institutional investor. Ideally, they already have some companies and some clients. Ideally, they have hopefully some angel investments that they received. But even if they haven't, I try to be the first one who goes in there and who tries to work with them.
And so talking about region, how is your view on how the region is developing? Does Turkey give you enough deal flow, or do you feel like you really have to go beyond to get the deal flow that you need?
I mean, Turkey does give us enough deal flow, but again, we don't just rely on the current deal flow. We've been doing this since 2011 actively. We currently see about 80 to 90 deals a week. Most of them are from Turkey, but we also have international deal flow. At the same time, we want to ensure that, we plant the seeds to ensure that we have this deal flow going forward. So we talk to most of the companies that we talk to, we know from the get-go that we will not invest in them at this current moment. But we still try to give them mentorship and give them the service that they require at this point in time. The region is very interesting. We go to MENA a lot. Lately, I've been going to the CIS and the Eastern European region more and more. And I see similar things. There's lack of capital. There's lack of risk appetite on the investor side. And there are tremendous people who have amazing technical skills and ambition to do something globally. And we try to be the service providers. I believe that venture capital is a service inherently. We try to be the service providers who help them get there.
I mean, that's kind of interesting because when you think of a company being started in the U.S., they can address the U.S. market, their home market, and that's kind of already from day one a global market because something that sells in the U.S. you can pretty much sell it anywhere. Yeah. I mean, do you see that the companies you're investing in that they, is there a difference between trying to solve problems locally, but that maybe aren't so much of a problem elsewhere, that are already being solved elsewhere, versus really focusing on a problem that's, in fact, there may be areas that aren't a problem in Turkey, but that have a big market somewhere else?
Yes.
I mean, how do you see the dynamic between, a company that starts with a Turkish market? I mean, there's this idea that Turkey can sometimes be a good kind of playground for finding a product market fit. It's a difficult market in a lot of ways, demanding customers, low willingness to pay. And so if you can, make a profitable business here, you may maybe give you the resilience to succeed abroad. I mean, what are your thoughts on kind of the local market versus then going global?
No, I agree with you. I mean, my thesis is that Turkey is a good market to test a product, to launch a product. Why? Because there are quite a few, especially in our space, in enterprise software, there are quite a few international companies who have their regional headquarters in Turkey. And there are quite a few Turkish corporates who will test new technologies. So it's a good place to start. But as you mentioned, they usually do not have the willingness to pay big checks to these solutions, which is okay because it's a filter and it's a good training, right? We don't have the big budgets that you can secure in an American setting. Which actually I think is also a good thing because entrepreneurs really need to work hard and really need to hone their selling skills. What happens most of the time is the products become overly extensive. So instead of solving one problem for a company, they end up solving many things for different types of clients. So you might suffer on the focus part.
It's a typical
But once you are ready to go, unless you want to start, stay in Turkey and dominate the Turkish market, which is a big, fallacy, I think, and a big problem for most of the startups, then you need to leave. Ideally, if it's a global problem that you're solving, your solution is already working. And sometimes your local clients who are, the international offices can help you become global. So, it works. So when I look at the success stories that we were, lucky to invest in, that's how it all started. They were able to sell to Turkish clients. They were able to perfect not just the product, the customer success part, pricing, and all that stuff. And then, without hesitating too much, they were able to go to a different country, and they jumped to Europe or US or Asia from then on. So that playbook, for lack of a better word, works at this time.
You mentioned sort of mentoring to staying in touch with startups that you're not investing in right away. I mean, that leads me to the typical question a little bit about kind of value add. I mean, how do you see your role as VC investors? Is that a big issue for you? There's the view that in the Turkish market, as you said, there's such a lack of capital that it may not be as much of an issue that you have to kind of prove that you're smart money. But I mean, what's your view on that?
I never use smart money. I use experienced money, and I don't want to call myself a mentor. I believe what we have is a collection of stories. We've been investing in Turkey and the nearby regions since 2012, and I've been an angel for a much longer time. So we have a bunch of stories, good and bad stories, successes and failures, and mostly human part, the human side of the story, right? So obviously the capital is important, and that's the key to the relationship. But I think the service that we give, and I truly believe that it's a service. I truly believe that I'm a service provider to the venture capital, to the startups, and to our investors. The main service that we provide is experience sharing. It doesn't matter where you want to go, what type of product you want to sell, what size you are. We have some experience usually, if not in our team, in our circumference, in our portfolio companies, that will be useful for you. The failures, the successes, the stories that they can share, the connections that we can provide are very valuable, especially at the early stage for these startups.
That's really interesting. And you mentioned some of the companies you invested in that really gave you a strong track record in Fund 1 immediately. Is there any one? I mean, so you mentioned EasyCo,
Insider in the first fund, yes.
Is there any one particular company that strikes you as a fun story to share of how it developed and how, not just how you made the investment, but also how it evolved?
I mean, I think obviously Insider is a big story to come from this region, not just Turkey, right? It's the first software unicorn of the region still. One of the main companies to look up to. And we met Insider. I think it's a good story because we met them in 2012 in Galata Business Angels when we were still in the Angel Investment Network. And Numan and I were the only two people I believe that day who didn't invest in them. And I think it's that really summarizes my thinking too, because we stayed in touch with them for 4 years. We worked with them for 4 years. I mean, it wasn't a day-to-day work, but we would talk once a quarter. I would say they would test different things, go to different countries, try to raise money. We were always there, and we ended up investing in them in 2016.
Okay,
right, and so that's what I really value. We built a relationship of trust, right? Even if we didn't invest in them that day, we were able to show them that we want to support them in whatever way possible. And it worked, and we had a good relationship. And they came back to us in 2016. And most people wouldn't remember this, but in 2016, MarTech, marketing technologies, weren't really in vogue anymore.
Right.
And and it was our last money, by the way. This is the last ticket we had in our fund. And after long negotiations, and there was no competing term sheet, by the way.
Okay.
We ended up investing in them. And since then, they grew immensely. After we invested 2 years later, then Sequoia joined as an investor. After Sequoia, Riverwood 2 years later became an investor. And then Qatar Investment Authority, and the latest investor is General Atlantic with 500 million. So when I look at it, I'm humbled because, again, we had a thesis. The thesis was there are deserving people who need to be supported in this region. But I would have never imagined that they would this big. Right now, they have offices, I believe, in close to 30 countries in this world. They employ close to 2,000 people. The revenue grew immensely. They're approaching, I think, 250, 300 million at this point. The valuation is coming close to 3 billion. So it's amazing. And again, I think it's a great opportunity, especially for a VC, to understand its position as a service, right? Because you understand how important it is that you support them, obviously, with your capital first, but then with the experience sharing, being there, just listening, right? But you also understand that these people will be successful no matter what. And the second you understand that, you understand your place in this universe. And it's a beautiful one, by the way, being able to sit next to these great people who will be successful no matter what, and being able to appreciate the chance that you can sit next to them sometimes and watch the greatness unfold. It's a beautiful thing to experience.
I also wanted to ask you kind of the flip side of that. Are there any opportunities that you didn't invest in that you regret? Any interesting stories there?
Sure. I mean, we see quite a few deals, and of course we missed some of them. I think, good or bad. I'm not sure if that's a good or bad answer, but there aren't that many that we missed. But obviously there are some, especially local ones like Obilet, the ticketing, the bus ticketing platform. I really wanted to invest, but unfortunately we couldn't. So that's still like, I think one of my big misses. Blue Ground, the unicorn, is another one. So I would definitely say Obilet and Blue Ground are some. Bitaxi we didn't invest in. I mean, Bitaxi became, a story, but because of that, we couldn't invest in Getir.
Okay.
Right? So had we invested in Bitaxi, we would have maybe invested in Getir, and, obviously,
maybe you dodged a bullet. I don't know.
You never know. You see, like, people. I mean, it's luck or unluck. So it's like depends on where you are in your lifetime, right?
What was the thinking behind Blue Ground? How did that play out? Do you remember?
Blue Ground. I mean, obviously the founding team was very experienced, and they're very, very significant opportunity cost at the table. We wanted to invest, but we were raising our new fund. We had deployed our previous fund. We were right in the middle. So, and it was the real estate part was a big portion of it. And I have a big, I don't want to say fear, but I don't like real estate because of my family background. Most of my family is in real estate. So many things played in. But I think the main thing was that we were between funds.
Okay.
And we couldn't pull the trigger. Yes. Okay. But I'm so happy that they're a very successful company and they fully deserve it.
I know of them because they're also INSEAD graduates.
There you go.
And I think they became a unicorn as well.
Yes.
Recently, so it's a fun story. Now, we're talking about growth, companies growing. The ecosystem in Turkey has grown a lot too. 5 years ago, in 2019, I was looking at the report, about 100 million was invested, at least that's known.
Sure.
And then last year, 2024, over $1 billion in deals. So tenfold growth, a little bit more than tenfold growth over 5 years. We've also seen a local regulatory structure
BCIF
in place, in Turkish that they call the GSYF. And so that's because there's tax incentives. That's also created a flurry there. I think there's 400 or more, maybe close to 500 funds, not firms, but at least funds in the local regulatory framework. I mean, what's your thinking on how is that evolution going? Do you think it will keep growing? Do you think there'll be a correction? Is it good for the industry? What are some of your thoughts there?
I mean, it's definitely good for the industry, right? When you look at the developed world, about 1% of the GDP needs to be invested in technology space, in the startups per year. So that for Turkey is $10 billion, right?
So we're way behind, actually. We have another 10x to grow.
It depends on how you look at the glass, right? When we started, there was nothing. Maybe you'd be lucky to have even the numbers for 10 to 20 million per year.
Right.
Now we're at 1 billion. So we are 10% there. We're at 0%. So and again, I'm an optimist. So I think this was the hard part, and hopefully in the next few years, 9 billion more, hopefully more, will be found to invest in the startups in Turkey. The schemes like this, I fully support. I mean, it's easy to criticize them, but I don't want to because capital needs to be invested in this region, in the young talents of this region. And as long as it enables more capital to be received by these deserving people, I support it. Of course, you can optimize it later on, but I'm thinking we need a blunt instrument, right? And this is a blunt instrument.
Right. Okay.
At some point, it will be optimized. So I'm fully supportive of any mechanism, crowdfunding, KSAF, other funds, fund of funds. I'm fully supporting anything that enables the startups to receive more money.
I agree with you. I think it's great. As you say, it's always easy to criticize government, especially as with your entrepreneurship hat, we tend to think of government as diametrically opposite, not the agile approach that the private sector has. But economic theory is that governments help create markets and make them efficient. And in this case, I do think it's definitely useful that regulation has helped incentivize and create more money to come into kind of venture capital investments in Turkey. I mean, I think, as you said, it might have to be optimized over time. I mean, one of the risks I see is if a lot of money comes into the venture capital asset class in Turkey because of tax incentives, and then they get very low returns, that there might be a backlash.
Yes.
And so I think probably there'll need to be some mechanism for kind of weeding out what are the good funds, who are the good fund managers. And so many of these, I mean, I think 200 funds have just been created in the past year.
Correct.
So many of these, I think it's great to have a lot of emerging
But they're not really funds, right? They're one LP and one ticket. So one investment type of vehicles, actually.
Asset,
so you would call them actually SPVs more likely.
That's true.
So we shouldn't classify them as funds. So, I mean, I fully agree with you. And I think, of course, there will be disappointments. But at the same time, when you look at the world, we're in 2025, right? Look at what's happening in the US or what's happening in China. And I think technology will be with us for the foreseeable future. And whoever creates this technology or is able to replicate it fast will be in the foreground in the foreseeable future. So we need to flood the market with money, because money is must-have, and we are talking about large sums of money. By the way, like compared to the U.S. or to China, it's nothing compared to them, right? What we are talking about. So that's why I'm thinking. I'm a true believer of like more amounts of capital need to land. I 100% agree with you. There will be a lot of disappointments, which is fine, as long as it's invested by adults who know what they're doing.
Right.
I'm okay with people losing money as well, but this region, and I'm not talking about just Turkey, Eastern Europe, Turkey, Middle East, and CIS, you meet amazing talent every day who, with a very small injection of capital, can, create the next insiders and stock radars or, trios from our, portfolio, or dream games and peaks and trendials. There are so many big stories coming from this region. And when you look at the investment that they received, it's nothing compared to the rest of the world, right? So these little amounts of injections can make huge differences, and this region deserves it. Yes, there will be people who will lose money. I'm hoping it's a small portion of their diversified portfolios, but it's necessary. And at some point, we will go back and say, okay, let's optimize this. Let's make it better.
Do you think funds of funds are, an approach for kind of having a layer or a filter that's evaluating the funds? I mean, have you dealt with funds of funds at all?
I mean, we deal with funds of funds every day. Obviously, they are mainly European or American. We don't have many funds of funds, looking at this region. Turkish Wealth Fund recently launched one. I think I'm 100% supportive, and hopefully it will go bigger. But we have very few local funds of funds that we can go to. And when you look at the ticket that they can write, it's still early days as well. And again, it's the same for the region. I'm a huge believer in funds of funds and DFIs as well. I think we need more of them. But we cannot wait for them to start and to grow their tickets. So that's why we need to scramble to get more money into the system.
So, but that's exciting. So, I love that statistic of, 1% of
GDP, yes.
So, 10 billion should be our goal. So we have,
Yes.
10x to grow. And
It's a beautiful problem, no?
Exactly.
So $9 billion problem I have.
Let's see in how
Yearly, by the way.
how many years we can get there. I mean, another aspect of that is that not only the total amount of money is smaller than it should be, but the fund sizes are fairly small. So we have, I guess, what you could kind of call a Series A gap, kind
Mm-hmm.
of after the first kind of seed investment, once the company is ready to grow, to scale, and to start going internationally, which can require quite a lot of funding to open an office in Western Europe or in the US, hire a sales team. There's kind of a lack of funds that have, in Turkey, Turkish funds that have the ability to invest that kind of money, 3 million, 5 million, 10 million. Although it's kind of a good time to start going to international VCs because it gets you on their radar as
Exactly.
well. I mean, how do you see that playing out? Do you think Turkey needs to develop larger fund sizes that can help with that? Or do you think it's actually efficient to have lots of funds that are focusing on seed?
And there are so many international funds who focus on Series A and later stages. If you're already ticking some boxes, if you already have international clients, you can show some traction, you can show the promise of growth. I don't think you have a problem to raise Series A in my universe. Yes, we should have more Series A and Series B types of funds in Turkey, for sure. But if my thesis is correct, and if first you need to be a global player, or at least show the promise that you can become one, you will raise the Series A. We have two companies who are mainly Turkish that we invested 3 years ago, and they both raised 25, 26 million each last summer. And they're both in the US. The investors are American. So there are huge funds in the world. I mean, we talk to the ones in Silicon Valley and Asia at least once a week. And they're all looking for the next big opportunity. So if you can show that you can be their next star, they will invest in you. And I think the likes of Insider, Picus, or Trendyol, Dream, Peak, all these big names showed that international players will invest in you. Doesn't matter where you're based, as long as you can attract their attention.
So, I mean, one aspect of the kind of the structure of the VC ecosystem in Turkey, with lots of smaller funds that are all investing, because they're small, they tend to invest also very early stage,
Sure.
so that they can invest small tickets. One thing you could imagine is kind of, you have a slightly larger fund, somewhat larger than most of the, I mean, really micro, a lot of
Sure.
these VCIFs in Turkey, that the VCIFs could be a kind of help provide deal flow, kind of make lots of investments in very early stage funds, and then you can kind of then pick up the ones that are
Sure.
that are succeeding. But you're actually looking to be one of the first investors. So, I mean, do you see it actually? Yeah, I mean, all these new funds coming in, is it kind of competition, or do you see it as helping your fund?
There is no competition in Turkey. I'm not saying there's no competition because I'm that good, because the gap is so big. We need to fill it first, and then we can think about the competition. I think we are still building the league. I would love to co-invest with more Turkish investors. When I look at our first fund, we didn't have one competing term sheet in our first fund. In our second fund, we have still very little overlap with the other major players, right? So I think that the Turkish space, the Turkish ecosystem, for lack of a better word, is still empty, and I think we have years to start talking about competition. That would be a good thing, I believe, right?
Sure.
It's a very lonely space when you are the only person evaluating a startup. You ask them about other potential investors, and they say you are the only one interested. Because either you are very lucky or you're very dumb, and statistically you are very dumb, right? So it's a very lonely space. I would love to have more competition. It's gonna get there. Again, we are starting from scratch. When you think about the US ecosystem, right? They've been building this for 7 years, if not more. I'm at it for the last 10 years, let's say. So it's the early days.
Sure.
I think we already have great stories, and I know we will have more to come. And hopefully one day we will talk about competition as well.
Great. So just a couple rapid fire questions, 30 to 60-second answers. One is there a strongly held belief that you held that you recently changed your mind on?
Many. I change my mind throughout the day about many things that I hold firmly. Exactly. So one thing is gaming, definitely. I was I wasn't very eager to look at gaming, and I'm looking at more and more at gaming, even though it's B2C, and I think the risks are high. But I believe we truly are a powerhouse in Turkey for creating the next big gaming company. So I'm warmer to look at gaming companies. Again, when I say warmer to look at, I'm wondering how if I can serve those companies, right? They do approach us.
Okay.
We want to help them out, but I don't have the skill set, or my team doesn't always have the skill set to provide them what they deserve. So I think 2025 will be testing whether we can actually help out.
Interesting. And kind of the flip side of that, that's an industry that everybody's interested in, that you're newly getting interested in. How about the other way around? Is there any industry or spaces or areas that you find exciting that other people don't seem to find that exciting?
I love industrial things like enterprise software that goes after heavy duty industrial operational supply chain oriented technologies. I believe there are huge problems there, literally, and I think technology can solve many things. And I think when I look at some of the entrepreneurs in Turkey, the industrial engineers, and then when you look at the people who just look at supply chain optimization in Turkey, I think there need to be more success stories that we can start here.
Very cool. And then we're talking about lots of funds being created in Turkey. I mean, you're now on your third fundraise. Any thoughts or tips? People raising a fund, what would you give them?
Start early, which is what we tell the entrepreneurs as well, right? I have two clients, the entrepreneur and the limited partners, and there is no best time to start fundraising. It's today. It's a lesson we learned in a very, very hard way in 2016, 17, and 18, right? You need to be fundraising constantly. Even if you have money and even if you are in your investment period, there needs to be a part of you that needs to be talking to potential new LPs. Especially in this region, you cannot rely on your existing LPs or success stories.
That's kind of all the questions I had. I'll ask you two things kind of as a catch-all. One, what should we expect from you in the next 5 years? And two, is there anything that you wanted to talk about that I should have asked that I didn't ask?
In the next 5 years, I'm not sure. When I look at the last 15 years, right, since 2010, it was an amazing ride. And I'm glad I was on that ride. And I was lucky, totally, honestly. So I think the next 5 years in the entrepreneurship ecosystem, in the startup technology ecosystem, we're going to have hopefully more stories. I'm hoping that I will be part of some of them. And I implore everyone, especially in the Turkish, market, to come closer to the Turkish entrepreneur. Because when you meet the people I meet on a daily basis, I think you can feel my, excitement. You definitely understand why we are so positive about the next few years about entrepreneurship.
It's great talent, right?
It's amazing talent, and you meet these people who are at par, if not better, with the rest of the world. They have great ambition, and they need people to give them a hand, walk with them, just to listen to them. And I think we can create many more success stories. So it's a great place to be in.
Super. That was really a fun conversation. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
And that's a wrap. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Turkish VC podcast. My name is Yunus Çelebiler. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe and tell your friends. You can listen to more episodes wherever you find podcasts, on Spotify or YouTube, etc. If you have any suggestions for people you'd like me to interview, or if you're looking to connect with the Turkish VC ecosystem, feel free to reach out. You can find me on LinkedIn. Stay tuned for further episodes.